impact.
And that's just how easy it is when Sidewinder Concepts trains you.
The Steiner T6XI right here is one I have been wanting to get my hands on for a very long time for this specific build right here, which is known as the Whisper Pickle, a name that was chosen by the viewers and the subscribers over on Instagram, and it was closely followed up by the Master Chief because apparently the green and gold gave it away. People wanted to give it that name from Halo as well. But the Steiner T6I is one that I kept an eye on, did a lot of research, and ultimately chose it for this thing. Because the brand reputation of Steiner, I think all we have to say there is that they are a very well-known optic company that produces very good military grade and hard use optics, and then other hunting things and binos as well. I do have to give a big thanks to Optics Planet for that Steiner T6I right there, because they did send it out to the channel for review, which is super cool of them, because like I said, I've been wanting this one for this build for a very long time. They've been very good to the channel over the past several months, and if you guys are interested in anything over there, you can use code TACC, T-A-C-C, and you might be very happy with what it does to your cart. And then of course, if you are interested in doing any research on anything you see here today in the video, you can go ahead and check out that build list. It'll be the first link in the description below. Do all your own research and find out if any of this stuff is for you. If you don't know, Steiner has a couple of different designations for their optics out there. They have an M line, which is for military, but if you don't have those Department of Defense deep pockets like I don't either, the T line or the tactical line is probably going to be the one you're going to want to look into. And that's exactly what this T6XI and 3-18x56 is. And overall, I think it is a perfect fit for a tactical rifle like the 18-inch Whisper Pickle. The T6XI is comprised of an aircraft grade aluminum 34mm main tube with a 56mm objective, which allows for a ton of light and clarity in that glass. This is hands down one of the most feature-rich scopes that I personally have ever owned. The design of this thing, from the turrets, the magnification ring, and all the other moving dials on this thing, are very aggressive looking, easy to manipulate, and a great fit for a tactical rifle without being too overly large or kind of snagging on other items. It is a first focal plane reticle, which means that it's going to grow in size as you up the magnification. And this one specifically is the SCR2 mil. But they do offer them an MOA as well, and it does have green illumination in there, which I'm a huge fan of on the reticle because green is a little easier for your eye to see. As far as setting this to your eye on that diopter, it's going to be a +2 down to a -3, so you can dial this right into your eye specifically for maximum clarity. There's also a locking ring for that diopter adjustment. Adjustments are in 1/10 mil increments with a total of 30 on the windage, 34 on the elevation, or you can use the reticle for an in-body holdover, which in my testing, they proved to be dead on. Parallax adjustment will be 25 yards to infinity on the side knob, which is also where your illumination dial is going to be, with 11 total brightness settings for night vision, and the rest are going to be daytime for you to try out. These turrets are really slick in the design features they have, with an easy to see locking knob on the top. Of course, they do return to 0, and that locking mechanism is super easy to feel even with gloves on, and you are going to know exactly where you are at, whether it's locked or unlocked, so you can stay on the glass and make your adjustments. And to add a little bit more, the windage and elevation turrets have windowed design on them, so you can pretty much never be wrong on your dial. Even if you go past the 0 point on that rev, it's going to turn over to 12 instead of just staying at 0. So as soon as you look at it, you got a visual indicator that you're either right or you're going to be way wrong. So that is a really cool part when it comes to the elevation and the windage adjustments here, help keeping you exactly where you need to be in your adjustments, return to 0, and then lock that turret off so it can't be knocked around or move on you at all. It will take a single CR2450 battery, which there are 2 included. It's submersible up to 33 feet should you be operating in wet environments or hunting. It's 13.6 inches long. It weighs a respectable 34.4 ounces. It's got the shot glass in there with Steiner's proprietary grind and 9-stage coating process. And the edge-to-edge clarity on this thing is just immediately noticeable and so nice out there on the range, especially when you're trying to see your own trace and you've got that magnification dialed up a little bit. Now, I know some of you need to see those really deep specs on here, so here's a little bit of calming music that you can read the specs to. Before we get into that range performance on the Steiner T6XI right here and all the steel slapping I caught with a trigger cam and another camera on a spotting scope, if you guys like content like this, go ahead and hit that subscribe button. It's going to do a couple of things for you. One, it's going to make sure you don't miss any content on things like this when it drops. And two, it's going to signal to the YouTube algorithm to show this video to other people, therefore spreading our two-way message, and maybe help some people out if they're interested or looking for the same kind of stuff, or maybe help change some other people's perspectives if they've never seen two-way content before and turn them in our direction. And if you think you're subscribed already, go ahead and give me that discount double check to make sure you still are. Out on the range, this literally has to be one of the nicest scopes I have ever personally owned. I ran this from multiple different distances, and I wrote them down so I wouldn't get this wrong. We're starting off at 230, went to 473, 544, 609, 675, and ended up at 948. Running Badlands munitions, 75 grain Hornady match ammunition. Bajo over there designed these specifically for his 18-inch, and I can tell you they make you look good out on the range. That ammo absolutely performs with a very low standard deviation, and the overall feet per second rating, or the chronograph there, was 2901, which is pretty spicy for that 75 grain. And the overall performance of the Steiner T6XI, whether it was prone, suppressed, unsuppressed, or from the tripod out there, was exactly what I was hoping for, but pretty much what I had expected, having talked to several of my sniper buddies who said this was going to be everything and more that I would need for this 18-inch Whisper Pickle build. Running this out there from 230 to 948 yards, I found the glass to be exceptionally crisp and clear with great edge-to-edge clarity, which is something that Steiner kind of really boasts in their marketing for these. And I have to say the edge-to-edge clarity was just something that was instantly noticeable, having mostly run more budget-friendly glass personally in my life, although I've had access to nicer stuff. I've never really owned higher-end scopes for the most part for more than a day or a couple of weeks at a time. The feel and the function of every dial on here, the magnification throw, was just positive and smooth and inspired a ton of confidence in the equipment, which is very important. I mostly use the reticle for my wind and elevation holds, and I found out there it was absolutely dead on once I got my wind call right. It was almost like cheating. That reticle is so easy to use and so easy to recover with. As long as you are doing what you need to do behind that rifle, it is almost like cheating. I did, however, feel that there was a real sweet spot in the magnification when it came to those 500+ yard targets, and that seemed to be right at about 13 to 14, maybe 15, and it seemed like that was just a really prime place to be all the way out to that 948 yards. Getting in some tripod work with it, the eye box on there was plenty forgiving as long as you are doing your job behind that rifle and staying in position. I used it for 230 all the way out to the 948, which I didn't get any hits on, but that'll be another practice day for positional shooting. Also, when running the suppressor, which we got pretty hot, I didn't really notice any problems with miraging, but again, there was a very good wind going on both days I was out there, pushing that mirage off to the left or the right, so it just seemed to be fine. And hands down, I left the range after day 2 with just a massive smile on my face, a ton more confidence when shooting at longer distances. And overall, again, I just want to go back out and run this thing again and again because it just performed that good for me out there. And it's something, like I said, I've wanted for a very long time. You will get all the regular stuff when it comes to the T6XI that you're going to get with other optics, but they're going to be a little bit nicer. So everything from the throw lever, which is just beautiful and matches all the machine work on the optic. You're also going to get Tenebrex covers on there, which are definitely a level above the rest. You're going to get a sunshade in case you are out in really bright environments. You need to throw that on. And of course, you're going to get your manual, the tools, a couple batteries, and all the basic stuff you're going to get. Microfiber cloth so you can keep the glass clean on there. But the things you get with it are just a level above the things you get with more moderately or cheaper priced scopes out there. Now, did I have any issues? Because nobody gets a pass on the channel. So when it comes to the Steiner, there was one thing that did come up. So the locking turret right there, you can see the locking cap on there. I noticed off the bat it was a little stiff almost, so it would kind of almost turn when you went to lock and unlock it. So I took that cap off and I noticed there's a little kind of polymer nipple in there, and that's what slides through a groove and eventually locks into place when it's locked or unlocked. So I noticed right away that there was a little tiny kind of hair-like burr on that polymer. So I got a very sharp knife and I very carefully kind of shaved that off, put it back on there, and it is 100% super buttery smooth after doing that. That is the only thing that came up while testing the T6i from Steiner. Overall, my testing out there and just spending some time with this thing for the past couple of months, this thing is just an exceptional optic out there, and I really just can't find a single thing wrong with it or that I don't like, because again, I wanted this one, I picked it for this build, and I spent a lot of time researching it and asking questions of everybody to find out if this was going to fit my needs, fit this rifle, and do everything I wanted to and last a very long time while giving me all of the performance that I wanted out of an optic for this rifle. Now, cost-wise on here, Optics Planet has these ones listed for $21.99. I know that may sound expensive, but when you get into a name brand like Steiner or any other big names out there that have military contracts that are US made, that give you the options and the quality and the clarity and the glass that these do, I don't think that that's overpriced. That's just something that you kind of have to accept if you want to step into optics at this level. As far as the overall rifle completion and build, I 100% love it. Now, I do have a build video on this full rifle. You can check that out. I'll link it up here or something. But overall, if you're wondering what this thing is, it's an ADM UIC upper and lower receiver, an ADM mount with quick release on it, ADM rail on there, 18-inch Criterion heavy profile chrome lined barrel, B5 systems furniture, Radian controls, Geisley 2-stage performance trigger in there, Accutech bipods because they're just so much better than most of the other ones out there, and a chemo mount from my friends over at Blackout Defense to finish off that muzzle and be able to run either my dead airs or any other suppressor with a chemo mount. Again, I have a full build on this. You can check that out if you're interested in any of that stuff. The only thing I will change, because it literally turned out almost absolutely 100% the way I want it, is I'm going to take off the B5 Systems kind of standard stock here and put on their precision stock just to tighten this thing up a little bit more and kind of finalize that build and fine tune it the way I wanted, because there's just a little bit of movement in that, even though I've got some tape in there now to tighten that stock up. And I want this thing just to be super rigid and super solid so I can take it even further than I have at this point and just continue to grow in my skills. Get subbed up to the channel. Check out that parts list down below. Keep doing things out on the range. Remember, if you stay ready, you ain't got to get ready. And I will see you all on the next one.